Welcome to Less Than 12 Parsecs, the fastest Star Wars podcast in the galaxy. Now here's your host, Tim McMahon.
Hey, it's Tim. I like Star Wars podcasts so much I started a Facebook group called Star Wars Podcast and Podcasters. One of my goals on this show is to interview as many Star Wars podcasters as possible in less than 2 minutes. Up first, we got Derek Daniel from Project Padawan Podcast. Here we go! Hey, Derek, thanks for coming on the show. Quick, tell people about your podcast.
Well, my podcast is called Project Padawan, and it's a Star Wars fan podcast for the beginner, the learner, the Padawan in us all. It's basically where I'm learning all about the world of Star Wars and then sharing it with other people. So it's not like I'm a Master Jedi myself. I'm a Padawan, and as I learn, I make training sessions each week and share it out with everybody else.
I love your show because it's short. I love short podcasts. Tell people how short your show is.
My show is pretty short. Not as short as this one, but it's about 7 to 10 minutes at most. I want to get, quick information out there. They can listen to it, and boom, they've got new information about Star Wars every week.
Tell folks what topics you've covered already.
So far, I've covered things like the planet Coruscant. I went over the lightsaber, and I talked about what a Padawan actually is in the world of Star Wars.
How do you choose what topics to cover since you're starting from scratch as a Star Wars fan?
That's a difficult process. I think I just watch the movies and I'm reading the novels, and if something piques my interest, I go to Wikipedia and I research it, and what it says, I usually take it, and then sometimes I use the Wikipedia app on my phone and shake it, and it gives me a random topic, and I'll talk about that each week as well.
Are you really that new as a Star Wars fan, or is this, am I misreading the situation?
I'm not hugely new. I mean, I've grown up with it. I was born in 83, so I missed the fandom of the original trilogy, though I did watch it as a child. But then, of course, I watched the prequels and The Force Awakens, and then, so I was one of those people who knew enough to sound like I knew a lot, but then somebody would give me a real question and I didn't know, and I was like, oh, geez. So I'm not like a complete newbie, like I don't know who Yoda or Obi-Wan is, but I'm enough of a newbie to say I need to know more about each one of these topics or characters.
Last question, what's the favorite thing you've learned so far?
My favorite thing? I think my favorite thing is probably the idea that the whole universe actually does connect, and I think just seeing from the prequels to the original trilogy to the novels, seeing how everything really does connect, and it's not just random spatterings of stories and characters.
Great, thanks for coming on the show, Derek.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Less Than 12 Parsecs, the fastest Star Wars podcast in the galaxy, part of the expanded Fandomverse network of shows. For links and show notes, visit our website, TwelveParsecsPodcast.com. Follow Less Than 12 Parsecs on Twitter at 12parpod, on Instagram at 12parsecsPodcast, on Tumblr at 12parsecsPodcast, and find us on Facebook as well. And please let us know what you think. Email us at 12parsecsPodcast@gmail.com.